Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mark's Remarks. We are finally rounding out my French Connection little mini series that I've been doing with members of the Rhode Island women's basketball program, highlighting the impact of all of these notable French recruits that have come through this recruiting pipeline that has been set up between France and Kingston. And to round out this series, I'm thrilled to be joined by one of the more experienced, one of the stars of this program that has shined for both the University of Rhode Island and France at the international level. I'm joined by Rhode Island women's basketball forward Anaelle Dutat. Anaelle, how are you today?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled that we're in this position now. This project has been coming on for a really long time. I've had the opportunity to speak with a number of your teammates, a few of your coaches, and I've been learning so much more about this program beyond what I had even thought of before starting this. And so I'm happy that we get to round it out today. I'm happy that I get to round it out with you because you're one of the players that I had been looking forward to speaking with for a long time because you have a plethora of experience with this team, a few all Atlantic 10 honors to your name as well. And you've also seen a lot of this program's growth over the past few years. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I want to first start with you how your basketball career overall began. What ultimately led you to wanting to pursue a career in basketball?
Like, or just like, how did I start basketball?
Even just like all the way back in the beginning, how did you fall in love with the game of basketball? Was it that your family kind of coaxed you into it, or was it something that you had just kind of picked up and you're like, I want to try this?
Like, nobody played basketball in my family, so I was like the first one to start. And I had a friend, I think when I was in middle school, he was playing basketball. And I think it just looked cool, so then I started. And since then, I've just never stopped.
At what age did you kind of start looking at
I
it?
think, I think I was 11. I started
Interesting.
at 11.
And so as you kind of got more into it, what was the first couple, I guess, months, years like really starting to play it a little bit more? Did your parents like the idea of you playing basketball from the jump? Because I know that it wasn't necessarily as popular in France as it is today back then.
Yeah. I was doing other sports before I did basketball. So I did like jujitsu for 7 years and I did track for like 5 years. So my mom was really disappointed that I stopped jujitsu because basketball took so much time that I couldn't do the other sports like on the side. So I just picked basketball. So at first she was a bit disappointed and then she just saw that I was happy doing it. So she was fine with it.
Interesting. So what was that initial sort of balance like? Was there at any point where you were doing all three sports simultaneously, still trying
Yeah,
to figure out what you enjoyed?
kind of. And then at some point, basketball was way more practice than the others, so I couldn't go to the others. And also, I think like especially for jujitsu, I felt like I was a bit done with it because it gets really repetitive. So I wanted some change. So then I just yeah, like I tried to manage everything all together, and then I see I couldn't, so I just picked basketball. And I
And so then once you sort of figured out that that balance was not feasible and you move into basketball, what was that initial sort of decision like in regard to like playing for a team? Were you playing for a town team? Did you join a club? Because I know that it's a little bit more
yeah,
difficult to
different.
balance that with school and everything. Yeah.
So basically, in France, we don't play for our school. I think the other French told you like we play for clubs. So I
Yeah.
just like joined a club that was like close to my home, and that's how it started really. Like it was like 15 minutes away, was maybe two, three times a week, and you play on the weekend. So that's like how it was for at least the first like 4 years, 3 years I played basketball.
When I spoke with Howa, she talked about how when she got into basketball around the same time you did at 11,
Hmm.
12 years old. She talked about how she noticed that a lot of players that, at least at the level in the club that she was playing at, had been involved in basketball much earlier. And that
Yeah,
it seemed that they had gotten their start at like 5, 6 years old. Did you notice that when you started?
yeah, because a lot of people I played with, like either their family was into basketball or like I guess their sibling and stuff. So most of them start pretty young, like 6, 7 year old. That's when usually like they start. So I guess 11 is pretty late to start basketball in some ways.
Did you feel that you had to do a lot in order to catch up, or was this more as you picked it up, you realized that you may
Hmm.
have had a natural talent for it, so you were already at a somewhat competitive spot?
I feel like yes and no. I really like basketball like around the same age I discovered like the NBA and stuff. So I really enjoy playing basketball. So even outside of practice, I was just like playing to have fun. So I like it didn't feel like, oh, I had to become better. I just wanted to because I really enjoyed the sport itself.
And you talked about your mom being initially a little bit disappointed with you
Yeah.
deciding to do basketball, giving up on that dream of seeing her daughter be an Olympic jiu-jitsu champion. But as you progressed and you started to take it more seriously, you joined a club, you started to really play more and show that this was something you were passionate about. How did their overall opinions start to change, and how much did they eventually become really supportive of you playing basketball?
I think she became like really supportive after I left my house to play like to in a better club like for high school, I guess. It's not really like I guess it would be the equivalent of like a prep school here. So
Yeah.
like when I left my home, like it was like 2 or 3 hours away from where I lived. I think she understood that I was taking it like seriously, so she was more involved. But at first, I think she was just thinking I was doing this for fun. So yeah, the first few years she wasn't really involved. She got more involved like when I left to play like high school basketball, I guess.
And so then, when you actually made that decision to head on over to an academy and a prep school, so to speak, and you took it much more seriously, was that at about the point where you wanted to start committing yourself to playing basketball at a much higher level, or was this still, I'm really enjoying myself, I want to play it more competitively, but I'm not entirely sure what direction I want to go in yet?
A bit of both. I think like I was 14 when I left, so I don't think I wanted to be pro. I just like I had the opportunity to just go at a better level and stuff, so I just took the opportunity. But I think at the time I didn't really know what I wanted to do really.
And so, what sort of change that, so to speak? At what point did you kind of break through that fog and start to figure out, okay, this is what I want to do, and I want to either go professionally or possibly come out to the US and play in college?
Maybe like after my first year there, I think this is where it gets more serious because you get to do like national team and stuff. So like everything around you became more serious. So then I really thought about the question. I think when I committed there in some ways, I don't really thought about it because like I didn't like I had only one friend that did the same thing as me, but we are the same age. So like I didn't really had like an outside perspective about it. So I just I guess figure it out by myself. And I think yeah, after 1 year when I start like doing national team and stuff, I really took it more seriously and be like I was like maybe if I can play pro in basketball, I guess I'll do it.
And when you started participating with the national team and really just playing with this club, was there a point where you started to clock how you were playing against other people at that same age group and at that same level, and started to realize that you were in fact quite good and you were like excelling at certain aspects of the game?
Yes and no. I think like there's some stuff to me it's like normal. For example, I guess one of like my best assets is like rebounding. So to me, since I started basketball, that's what I've been doing. So like to me that was normal. But then when you get to play with other people that are like also good, you realize that oh, this is actually pretty good what I'm doing and stuff. I don't think at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually pretty good. Like I think with the time I realized, and when I got selected to the like national team, and technically with like the best young people in France, like that's where really you start to realize that you're like pretty good, I guess.
And so you were young when this whole process began. Was that adjustment period difficult for you when you had to go away from home for an extended period of time to play, knowing that you were going to be away from your family, your friends, away from
Yeah.
your hometown in general?
I think I remember like my first night there, I was in my bed and I was like, what am I even doing? Like I was with all of those random people that I never met before. I mean, like I'm sharing a room with people because like we all live together in like a big apartment with like multiple rooms and stuff. So I think it was a bit for sure. I think the first few months were a bit like weird because I was in a different setting that I like got used to in some way. Yeah.
And so, how did you deal with the pressure, so to speak, of being in that position? Because obviously, there's a great amount of pressure that comes with playing college basketball at this level and then representing France at the under 19, under 18 level as you've gotten older. But in that original position, you were young and you were really brand new to this. So, in that first sort of instance, how were you dealing with all of the pressure and expectations that came with being at that academy? And did those around you that were in essentially the same position as you, how did they help you kind of get comfortable?
I think at that age I didn't really have pressure because like it was still like all fun and stuff. Like I still enjoy what I was doing. So I don't think I had pressure at that time. Like at some point the people that were next to me became my friends, so it just became like funny to play with them. Like I get to play with them, we get to spend time together. So I think like the pressure I think came maybe when I came here, but in France I don't feel like I really had any pressure because I
Do
don't
you
feel
think,
people are expecting stuff from me. So like obviously there's no pressure that comes with it. There's no pressure.
interesting. Do you think that that's changed now that basketball has become more popular in France and now it's seen as a more viable option in terms of prospective athletes wanting to make a professional career?
I think maybe for the like younger generation, maybe it becomes to be like there's more pressure that comes with it because you I think people start to realize that like you can really make a career playing like professional basketball like at least as a woman. So maybe there's more pressure that comes with it. But yeah, I think like back at that time I didn't really have any pressure. Like I know what I wanted to do if I didn't play basketball, so like I was fine with it.
And so then, as you're going through playing through the years at this academy, and you're getting older, sort of figuring out, all right, this is what I want to do. At what point did you have to make a decision between playing professionally in Europe or in France versus possibly pursuing a college basketball career in the U.S.?
I think like my last year of like high school. So before, yeah, I guess my last year of high school, Coach Adeni, he like reached out to me after a national team. So then that's where I consider like the option of even going to the US because I don't think at the time I knew anybody that went overseas. Like at least know them personally. I knew some people just went to like the US to play basketball, but I didn't really like thought about it as an option. Like the it became an option when like Coach Adine like reached out to me, but before that, I thought about like staying in France and even playing a lower level because I wanted to do like engineering studies. And in France, it's really hard to do like I guess big studies and still playing basketball because basketball is like 2 practice a day, so you don't really get that much time for school.
It, did you know anything about American college basketball beforehand, regardless whether you knew about Rhode Island or you had
Yeah,
known, like you said, you knew some players that had gone overseas. But did you have like any knowledge about women's basketball in the U.S. beforehand, anyway?
yeah. Like I think through social media, I knew what March Madness was. I didn't know for sure that there was that many conferences. Like I didn't know there were so many conferences in the US. I don't think I knew like there was like 3 different division and stuff like D1, D2, D3. I knew like the big lines of it, not really like how like sports in the US were working and stuff like in details.
Interesting. And so, Coach Amadou, you said reached out to you before you really knew much about what was going on with Rhode
Hmm.
Island. What was that initial reach out like? Did it catch you by surprise that he wanted to speak with you about an opportunity to come to Kingston?
He like he texted me on Instagram, and usually I don't really like look at my requests and stuff because I'm like, oh, like if people that I don't know text me, I'm not answering. And I don't know that time I saw his text and it catch a bit my attention because I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And I talked to my mom about it, and then I'm like, I gave him her number and they start talking, and then we spoke a bit and stuff. Yeah, that was honestly that's not a miracle. I saw the text, but really that's really like a big coincidence that I get to see his text because usually I just delete them without even looking at it.
So was he having conversations with your mom first before pitching you on the program?
I think I like answered him and I said, "Oh, okay, like here's my mom like phone number and stuff." And I think he reached out to her first before like talking like directly through like to me.
Huh. Because most of the players that I've spoken to while doing this series, it was the other way around. It was more Coach Amadou spoke to the players, kind of got them on board, and then it was a lot of convincing on the back end of trying to convince their parents and families that
Yeah,
this was a good decision. But that's interesting that he just went straight to you had him just go straight to talking to your mom about what the opportunity was. Were you more or less doing that because you trusted her judgment and that whatever she believed was right for you would be the right move? Or did you kind of already have an idea about what you wanted to do and you wanted to just have her hear it from him yourself?
Like I think like he had to convince me more than he had to convince my mom. I think my mom was all in like from start because she was like, "Oh, you get to do your studies, you get to go play basketball and stuff." I don't know if maybe that was her dream for me to go overseas and stuff. Me, didn't even like they say a lot of people in Europe have like that American dream about going to America and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really think I had that because I don't know. I didn't really had a big interest into the US, but the NBA. So like I think it was harder for me to be convinced that he like than it was for my mom to be convinced. So yeah, yeah. I think yeah, he spoke to my mom then, and also I said it to my mom because I think like if it's a big thing, like she must know about it because it's like a big decision to make and stuff. So yeah.
So, so how much were you leaning toward just moving on from basketball in general? You talked about wanting to get into engineering and really
Yeah.
trying to focus on your studies. Were you in a position where you were kind of just more interested in focusing on your academics and building a career rather than pursuing basketball?
I know that like if I pursue basketball in France, I wouldn't do like some random study just to have a diploma at the end. I know that like if I keep going on to the studies, and I guess that wasn't an option because my mom is really big about like studying and stuff. So like I had to pick something, and I'm like I want to pick something that I feel is going to be useful for me and that I even enjoy. And the thing is, this would have led me to like lower the level I played with because then the lower the level, the less practice you have, so the more time I have for school. So it's like I really wanted to play basketball, but then I realized that like playing basketball with the type of study I wanted to do, that would have been like hard in some way to like do together, like at the same time.
Is your mom from France originally, or is she from another country?
She was born in Cameroon and she moved to France. I can't remember when she was like 20 something. But
You
yeah, she
said,
was born in Cameroon.
oh, Cameroon. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you think that, because I was just asking this came up when I did my interview with MK, and I ended up just texting everyone else who I did interviews with because this question like stood out to me so much. Do you think that her values as an immigrant or just as someone that has moved from
yeah.
France having to work exceptionally hard to be in this position, do you think that a lot of her values have, or how do you feel that they've impacted your own personal values and your own character? Because we're going to get into the character side of how this whole
Yeah.
story unfolds in a little bit. But I'm curious as to how you think her values may have impacted your own.
But I think obviously I'm her child, so like the way she view things, like that's the way she's gonna like teach them to me. So I think yeah, obviously her being an immigrant, and I've seen her work like a lot and stuff. So like I was aware of like everything she did and stuff. So yeah, I think she impacted me for sure, like to the person that I am today. But
And were you at all surprised that she was so on board with wanting to have you go over to the US to play college basketball? Because I feel that it still boggles my mind how quickly it seemed that she was ready, willing to be like, hey, this is a great opportunity for you.
yeah.
It's in such stark contrast from what I've heard from other international students. So did that at all catch you off guard that she was so like, oh my gosh, you have to do this?
But yes, I know. Like I think she really trusted Adeni and like how he presented the stuff and like how he explained it to her. I think she was like, but that's the best thing you can do, like playing high level basketball and still do like great studies. And also she was used to the fact that I wasn't at home since like I spent 3 years at that type of academy away from home and I was just going back for like holidays and stuff. So like the distance I don't think was like a big thing for her. Maybe it was more for me because I'm like I won't be going home that much, and there's also like the time difference and stuff. So yeah, no, she's for sure like pushed me to come here more than like I wanted to go. Cause me, I told Adini that I was coming here like I think it was in October before the October before the year I come.
Yeah.
So like
So
yeah, almost a
October
year before.
2021, yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so
Yeah.
what specifically did Coach Amadou say to you in his pitch? Because clearly now got your mom on his side, and now you've got all of these people sort of pushing you, saying, "Hey, that this is a good opportunity." But what ultimately sold you on this opportunity that he explained to you in his initial pitch, so to speak?
I think honestly it's more my mom because she was really like, you should go, like you should just go. Because I was more skeptical because I'm like, how come you gave me money to come to the US? Like you gave me all of this money. What do I have to do in return? Because I'm like, this is weird. You don't give people free money. Like you don't, like that's not something that happened like a lot in life. And I don't think I knew much about how scholarship were working and stuff. So to me, I'm not saying I thought it was a scam, but I was more skeptical about it because I'm like, how does this work? Like if you give me money, you gotta make money in some way. So how are you making your money? Like not on me, but kind of. So yeah, I was more skeptical about this. Then he explained it to me like how college sports work and how big it is that like you can actually give money out to like some athlete and still make like still be and it's still worth it. So once like I understand how like this was working and how it's not a scam, but like it goes both ways. I was more okay with the fact of like, oh, okay, this could actually be a good thing to do.
And
And
so,
also my no, go ahead.
oh no, 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 please finish.
And then my mom, I don't know if you spoke to Emmanuel Taran.
I did not get the chance to. No, not yet.
I think her father is from Cameroon too. So
Hmm.
then Koche just gave his number to my mom and they start speaking and just going on and on about it. So she was so convinced that honestly she just like kind of pushed me to come here.
And so once you actually did commit, and
Hmm.
after you had that conversation, you tell Coach Amadou, I imagine that you had to have a call with Coach Reese. And what was that initial, or actually, did you end up speaking with her before you came over to the US over Zoom
I,
or phone?
I think we just texted and like the first time I really spoke to her was when I arrived on campus. But
Huh.
before that, I think I like had couple of exchange like couple of texts with her, and that's about it. I think she just texted me because I was finishing national team before I came here. She was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, congrats on national team" or something like this. But we never really spoke like that much until I came here.
Did you get any sort of gauge for her, let's say, bolsterous personality over text, or was that something that you kind of got a feel for very quickly when you met her the first time on campus?
Uh, I think Adenik talked to me about it. Like he explained it to me how she was, and my coach at like the academy I was kind of similar to her, not as like not crazy, but as a really loud person. She wasn't. My
Yeah.
former coach wasn't as loud, but she was still like, tough and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, like I've seen it before. I'm fine. But yeah, no, even the first time I met her, she just like I think it's American also in general, really like outgoing, really ask you questions stuff. When I feel like in France we're more like if you speak to somebody, there's a reason. You just don't speak to them to be nice. So that was different. That was really different. So yeah.
How did you respond to that initially? Because I mean, I imagine that over the past couple of years, you've gotten more comfortable with it, and
Yeah.
you get used to it. But I can imagine that, considering how reserved French people tend to be, that it can be a little bit of a culture shock when you have to deal with someone who's very energetic, very sort of in your
Yeah.
face all the time. And that initial first couple weeks when you're joining up with the team, getting to know a few of your teammates, both the Americans, the French, and other the national students. How did you get used to and get comfortable working with Coach Reese?
I remember at first when she was speaking and giving speech, I didn't understand everything she was saying. Like I had some words, but like obviously the way people speak in America, like English and stuff, it's way like faster than what they teach you in school. So at first I was a bit like, oh, I like actually don't understand really what she's saying. But then I got used to it and I got used to her personality. So like, and I obviously started like by understanding everything she was saying. So then I was fine. It was just I had like a little time to really understand what everybody was saying, how like people were working here, how like it's like they are nice, but which is weird to me, people that are nice just to be nice. So it was more of like trying to understand this, and then as soon as I understand that, I think I was fine with her personality and even my other teammates and stuff. I was shy for sure, but I still understand kind of how they functioned.
Did having other French teammates kind of make that adjustment period easier, especially when it came to becoming closer with your American counterparts in the locker room?
I think for sure because like and they had like a lot of French were already there before, so like they knew how it was like. So I wasn't like in the unknown, not my freshman year. Like I talked to them before I came here. When I was here, like we talked to each other. Like if I had questions about how things works and everything, I go straight to them. And I feel like it was easier to go straight to them and even speaking French to them than just going to like the Americans.
And
So
did
it
you
helped for sure.
did you know any of them before coming over? Because I know that Howard and Inez both sort of talked about how they knew a few of past and present teammates while spending time in academies in Paris and sort of knowing players because this team has been made up of some of the best French talent that's come from all over different parts of France. And so you kind of get to know players like as you're playing against them throughout your careers, like your youth career. And so did you know any of them, whether it was personally or just from playing them?
I played with Ines, so I knew Ines the most when I came here because we played national team together. I knew about Awa, never played against her, but like France is not that big, so like you start to know everybody that is playing basketball, especially people your age. So I knew about Awa, and I think at the time that was it. I didn't know Maye much. I think I saw who she was, but I didn't really know like her personally. I didn't know Sophie Sen at the time, and I didn't know Tena either at the time.
I want to keep diving into this roster stuff, but you keep mentioning the representing France at the international level, and I feel remiss if we don't talk about that a little bit. How many different age groups did you represent France at? Because I know that you played with Inez a few years ago, but at how many different sort of groups did you represent France at the international level?
Like two, I guess. Like I did U18 with a year ahead. That's why I've done it with Ines because she's like a year older than me. Then the next year I did U18 again because this time I was really like under 18, like that was my age category. And then I did U19 like 2 summers ago, I think.
And so these experiences, both before and during your time with Rhode Island, how do you feel that representing France at the international level, playing in international tournaments with the best of the best in your age group and beyond, since you were playing in a group above, how do you feel that that sort of impacted your overall development as a player? Because from my perspective, it seems that a lot of when you're playing in with a team or a college team, like you get that continued sort of development working with your team. But then when you get that opportunity to work at the international level, you're playing with a lot of your compatriots. There's a whole different feeling around playing for your country than
Mhm.
just playing for your team or your university. So how do you feel that that may have impacted you as a player, but then also as a person?
I think it was more the other way around. It's like after being in the US, I know that for example when I played like Team USA at the World Cup, it's like you know how usually we like as European or even anybody in the world think the US are like the greatest team ever, which
Yeah.
obviously they prove they are kind of. But like I think there was less apprehension in some way, knowing that oh I played in the US so I kinda know what it's like and I knew what to expect. So I think like playing here in the US prepared me a bit better maybe for like what I was gonna see in national team because obviously there's a lot of like international player in uh in D1 here. So like some of them I've seen them like when in France if you play only against French people then you haven't really seen a lot. But playing here allowed me to like have like a set perspective of what I can expect.
And you talked about how when you first came over to Kingston, you were a little bit shy, trying to become comfortable in these new surroundings. But on the court, it's clear that you are comfortable as possible when you're playing, both in your initial first couple games during your first season and even to now. Do you feel that having represented France at the international level and having really proved that you are a quality player even before coming over from France, do you feel that
Mhm.
that confidence from playing in tournaments like that and being a part of an organization like that has helped your overall confidence on the court in general?
I think it gave me like it gave me credit. It's like oh I'm just not like a random from France. Like not proof stuff, but kind of like, so I guess, yeah.
And so then, kind of bring the focus back toward Rhode Island a little bit. Walk me through your first season, because your first season was 2022-23. That just so happened to also be the first ever Atlantic 10 regular season title that this program has ever won. And so I got to imagine that being your first season, it's there's going to take a lot to beat that in terms of how you want
Yeah.
your overall career to go. But just tell me, as a new kid on the block, so to speak, and really trying to find your feet with this program and trying to figure out what your role is, what was that first season like for you?
It was a lot of like new things. Like for example, I thought I was playing fast in France until I came here. Here, like the game is way faster, and especially here they want us to play really fast. So that was the most like shocking in some ways. And it's like, and even I remember the way practices were built. It's like you have a time for this, and there's like a shot clock for it. Then you have a time for this, and you have a shot clock for this. It was more like, I don't know, more prepared than what I was used to. That was different. Also playing with like speaking English on the court was also a big thing. Like communication, I think they're really big on communication. And I think my freshman year, like I was shy for sure, and also I'm not really like a vocal person. So like the expectation and like communication were like huge for me at the time, and even to till now it's still pretty big. But like I got more used to it, so I think I got better at it. But at the time, yeah, no, I had like some teammates like that were upset with me because I wasn't talking on the court. But that was different, and I felt really young in that team. Like we had like Cece, Emma, Madison. To me, they were really old, but now looking at it, they were not that old. But like to me, I came here, I was 18, like they were 20, 22 maybe, or something like this. To me, that was really old. So that was a lot of like new things, like how like even the team was built, how stuff are functioning, coming onto campus, seeing the gym and stuff. That was like a lot of new things to process for me. And also at the same time, it's like going to school, listening to like classes in English and stuff. I think that was like a lot of change for me for at least like the first 2 3 months. Is when I start to like acclimate to that. But then I feel like I get more comfortable, and we were winning too. So honestly, freshman year was great.
How quickly were you able to start picking up on English, English lingo, or just English in general? Because obviously, from what I've gathered, French basketball terms do not translate over to English and vice versa.
Not
It just
really.
does not work well. So was it something that it was kind of forced upon you super quickly to pick up English like this, or was it sort of more gradual? And as you sort of gravitated and hung around more of the older French players, did they kind of guide you through this overall
Yeah,
process?
no, for sure. When I had question about what Tammy was saying, I was just going to like my of people that have been here, and she was just explaining to me, oh, that's what she's expecting. Or when it was more technical question, I just go to Coach A and he's explaining to me. So like I think really to fully understand the like what she meant with some words she used and stuff, it really took me like 2 3 months to feel comfortable to get used to the pace of what people are speaking at. So I guess yeah, at least 2 3 months. But again, like having French on the team and stuff, it really makes stuff way easier than if I went to a team that just had no French people.
And so as that season is progressing, you become a lot more comfortable. You're picking up English a little bit more. You guys are winning games, so that makes everything a lot more easier. That adjustment period, it's a lot more calm when you're continuously winning. And
Yeah,
then after the regular season finishes, you make your first two career starts in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Obviously, that tournament did not end the way you all would have hoped, but it obviously led to more postseason games beyond that in the WNIT. But what was it like getting those first two starts in the A10 tournament? Because that's a big role to fill at that point. And to know that the work that you had put in throughout that whole season as part of a title winning team, to know that they had the trust in you to start those two games, what did that mean to you?
but I'm not gonna say nothing really because in my life I started game, so like that wasn't shocking to me. I didn't have crazy pressure or anything. And also it's like I was playing before. I was still playing a lot. It's just it was this time I was just starting. So to me that was not really a big difference. I was just like, yeah, I was just starting the game instead of coming like in like 4 or 5 minutes later. So I don't know, that didn't really make a big difference for me. I was happy I started, that's for sure. But I was not like, oh, that's crazy. Like I'm starting my first game and everything.
Well, yeah, now it looks like it's clear that that confidence was really brewing in you at that point. Once you kind of hit that point, and stark contrast from sort of how that season may have began. But I guess that's what winning does for one's confidence, is you got to progress through the season. But and then even more beyond that, playing for URI in the WNIT, that was a program first for a number of reasons, and just considering how poor that this program was prior to Coach Reese's arrival and prior to all of these French players coming in and making their impact on the program. To see the Rams move on in the WNIT was a big deal to the overall URI community. What was that like for you all as a team to be participating in that tournament? Because obviously the goal is to make March Madness, and that's
Hmm.
the precipice of college basketball, and that's where every team strives to be. You guys fell very, very close, but fell short of that, but ended up in the WNIT, which is essentially the next best thing. That week or two period where you guys are going through and participating in that tournament, what was that experience like for the roster? And how do you feel, since you're still a part of this team, how do you feel that that sort of experience and the fact that now Rhode Island can look back on that knowing that that's a new standard that's been set, how do you feel
Hmm.
that playing in those games has then impacted the direction that this program has been moving?
Yeah. But about the WNIT and stuff, I'm not gonna say I was clueless at the time, but to me, really, I was just playing basketball. So like NIT or tournament or anything to me, it's like another basketball game. It's not like, I don't know. Like I guess there was expectation and it was like a first time like things for like everybody here, especially how based on how new our team was at the time. But I don't know, it didn't feel like any pressure or any expectation on us because I felt like we all had the same goal that was to win. So like it doesn't really matter the game. Like at the end, we just wanted to win.
Do you look at just basketball in general as just a series of games? Do you not take into consideration like the overall weight of each contest, whether it's a regular season game that's late in the season or like a conference tournament final? Do you look at those differently, or are you just the type of person that looks at each game as just a basketball game and I'm just focusing on what I can do?
Yeah, I think recently maybe since especially this year my role was kind of different. I've looked at it with maybe like I don't know, knowing what's gonna happen next. But I feel like the more I do that, the less it works really because I'm really used to just, oh, I go in the game, my goal is to win. So like it doesn't matter the weight behind it. Like that's not gonna change how I'm gonna play. Like I'm gonna play like I want to win. So either if it's like a tournament game or just regular season, non-conference, I'm just trying to play like as hard as I can to win. So I guess the way I approach game is really like this is like just another game at the end of the day. And I think the more I'm trying to build pressure around it, the worse it is.
I was gonna say, like, do you feel that that gives you a little bit of an edge, knowing that you're just kind of going into every game relatively calm, and it's like, all right, whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna play, I'm gonna ball out, and I'm gonna do what I can. But that's just what it is. Do you feel that that being calm and being able to go into these games just with a level head more than the average basketball player, so to speak? Do you think that it gives you some sort of an advantage?
I think kind of like I'm really trying to focus on like what I can control. And I think the times where I don't focus on what I can control is really the time where like I struggle more playing and stuff. I think the less not the less I put pressure on me, but the less I'm just focusing on like basketball and not like the weight behind it is where I play like that the most free in some way. I'm just trying to focus on what's going on, not what's gonna happen next.
In a lot of post game pressers, Coach Reese kind of exudes that point a little bit. She talks about like this next game mentality where we're not focusing on 5 games down the line. Each game is like its own little season, and you
Hmm.
just focus on that. Do you feel that your teammates, whether American, French, or other international students, do you feel that they all sort of carry that same mindset as you do, or do you feel that some may, while others are kind of like, I'm thinking about this a little bit more, I'm thinking a little bit ahead? Because I feel like that in order to have a truly competitive team, it's finding that balance of players that understand the expectation and understand the gravity of the game, while having those that do as well, but just kind of block it out and they just focus on their craft.
I think it's a bit of both because like people we don't like approach the same, even my teammates, we don't approach a game the same way. And like me, I'm a junior, so I know I have one more year, but I know for senior it's different because they're like, oh, but the more we advance in the season, the less game I have to play because like after this I'm done. So I feel like it was a bit of both. Like I think some of my teammates were like, oh, like we're trying to take this game as it goes. Some were more thinking about, oh, what's next after this, like tournament and stuff. So I guess I had a bit of both.
And kind of just looking over your career in Rhode Island as a whole, obviously, like I alluded to earlier, it's difficult to top how that first season went, winning a regular season title your freshman year. And in the 2 seasons that have followed, the Rams are trying to get back to that point, but
Mm-hmm.
have not gotten to that final top of the mountain, so to speak. But have been getting further and further along in the Atlantic 10 tournament as well. So there's clear improvement there. But as the past couple of seasons have sort of worn on, and you've gotten older, and you've seen your role continue to evolve with this team, how do you feel the overall culture of this team has changed or evolved since you first got there? Because obviously having success in that first season sets a certain standard, and Coach Reese, you can attest to it better than anybody else, that she does hold very high standards to you all as a collective. But just looking at how you haven't necessarily reached those same heights as that 2022-23 season, how has the overall culture shifted in seasons gone by?
I think for like my freshman year, so the year we won the title, we were really like a unit in some way. We really like all leaned towards the same goal, which was winning. And it's like nobody really had ego or anything like playing. It was like if I don't know, Maya at the time is gonna drop 15 for us to win, then she's doing it. If it has to be Sophie P, then it would be Soph or Madison or Stacey at the time. There was not really any like go-to player or like egos. So really our team was just leaning towards the same goal. When I feel like the year after it was more like we're expecting people to perform for us to win, and then when they don't meet those expectations, then that's where like we get frustrated as a team and everything. So I think that's the biggest difference between that freshman year and those past 2 years is like we didn't really reproduce the same recipe in some ways. So that's where like I feel like that's also what you can see from the results. The results are so different because my freshman year we were really playing as a team when the past 2 years it wasn't really as a team. Yeah, it wasn't really as a team. I like and so you can really see it because I don't think freshman year, for example, has struggled like to score or anything because actually anybody could score into our offense when this past like 2 years it was more like issues like trying to really find the rhythm or trying to really find what like can work for us.
And so this past season, you were named and as part of the all Atlantic 10 all defensive team this past season. And that kind of encapsulates the role you have on this team as one of the veteran players, a leader, and a leader particularly on defense. Considering that your freshman year was that title winning team that now is the envy of whatever program comes after until they match that or go on to win the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament and make Women's March Madness. But in terms of your overall role with this roster, both this past season and next season when you hit your senior year, how do you sort of operate in this locker room in terms of trying to be a leader and trying to uphold the standards and expectations of this team, considering that you were a part of that championship, that
Mm.
regular season title winning team, during your freshman year?
But I'll start by saying like I'm not really like a vocal leader. So like I won't really like our captains are the ones that are more vocal. I'm not really what I'm trying to be is like a leader on the court and like set the example. Like the only time really I can try and lead is like obviously we have like the guards and the post player, and like in the post players, Awa and I were the oldest, so like we're trying to be like the leader of like those post players, trying to like show them what's the expectation and what we have to do to meet those expectations. And I guess coaching into next year, that would be the same, like same goal. Maybe try to be more vocal as a leader, but still trying to lead like the new posts into like showing them what's expected from them.
And as trying to lead by example, I mean, do you think that it'll be a little bit more, so to say, difficult to sort of grow into that vocal leader as a person, just considering the type of person that you are? Or do you feel that your overall message and how you want people to, look at you and pay attention to you, do you feel that it's more justice is done if they just watch you play basketball and watch you defend, watch how you act on the court? Do you feel that there's more to gain from just watching you rather than also listening to you at the same time?
I think the easy way for me would be just like, oh, like just not watch what I do, but like trying to lead by example. But I feel like I need to grow as a player, and also for my teammate. I think that's what our team needs at least next year, is me trying to be more vocal in some way, and like trying to get out of my comfort zone really, because it's my senior year, so because I have to do something. But like, yeah, even trying to grow as a person, and if it can help our team, then like that's what I want to do anyway.
And so one of the interesting things that I talked about with Coach Reese when I sat down with her, God, that was almost like 4 months ago now, which is crazy. But when she talked a lot about how the future of this program is going to look in terms of how they want to go about recruiting. And because of her work with the Olympic team, there was such a strong focus on attracting French talent because she herself wasn't really on the recruiting trail very much. And so a lot of that
Hmm.
fell on Coach Amadou to procure some high level talent from France. And so now I've got two questions that kind of follow the same vein. One is, how do you feel the French talents that's come over and have been on the rosters since your time here, how do you feel that they've impacted this program? More either on the court in terms of how the culture is, just how do you feel that they've impacted the overall growth of this program?
I think every French player that is like coming here. So now we don't really came from all the same background, but we came from a very like similar background. So our impact is like pretty much the same over the years. It's really like trying to bring like that French perspectives, I guess, in terms of basketball, and like, and culture wise, I think like we influence our teammate like on and off the court by just like, obviously France and the US are two different culture. So like through, I don't know, cooking, dressing, like it's like really on and off the court. It's really different, like how the culture is being changed by having fresh player. I think it just gives more diversity and like another perspective from what you can see.
And do you feel that the American players ever are like picking up on subtle nuances that the French side of the locker room may do that, I don't know, maybe they themselves don't really notice? Or do you feel that and vice versa, do you feel that the French players are picking up stuff that the Americans do and just kind of continuing on with that?
Oh, for sure. I think especially even like the lingo and stuff. I think we already get influenced by how they speak. So, and the same way, or like I know like a lot of my teammates, they know like French words because sometimes we say so much like stuff, like at least the same stuff over the time, especially like cursing words, like so they know that type of stuff. So I think it really goes both ways, like into our personality and like,
And then overall, just like how you all connect as a team. I mean, I talked about it. We've probably touched on it a couple times throughout this, but the overall sort of vision of this project and how I've wanted to talk about this, it's all coming back to how you all gel as a collective. And that when I spoke to Coach Amadou and Coach Reese, I asked them a lot about what they look for in recruiting. And usually you're looking for the best possible player that can make an impact at a position of need for your team in order to make the most competitive roster. But it seems that in particular, when Coach Amadou is going about recruiting the French players, it's that not as much of a focus on the talent. It's more on individual personalities, how you all conduct yourselves, how your families are, how you interact with your families. And that, at least in France, you're going to be speaking with some of the highest quality youth basketball players in the country, but it's more than sifting through those options based on character and based on personality and how you all sort of operate. With your 3 years of experience with this team, how do you feel just sort of about that sentiment that this team is made up of players that are all of the same character? Have you noticed that in particular? And how do you, I guess, just look at the locker room? Do you see it as like a family of all like-minded individuals, even though they all come from different parts of the world?
I think we're like pretty similar, even though, like you said, we come from different backgrounds. I think our characters and like our morals and stuff are really similar, and I think that's what they're trying to recruit. Like people with like, their ethic in some ways is like solid, and it's like you're not gonna teach them like effort. If I think they really try to recruit in a way that like the only thing you teach is basketball. It's not how you need to like conduct or stuff like this. It's really just about basketball. So I think that's like the common like things between all of us is really like what they want to coach is basketball. It's not who you are as a person. They want you to grow as a person, but they shouldn't show you like how you need to behave. In more like it's more like you get that same, I don't know, that same, I don't know how to explain it. Not the same values, but like the starting point is the same, and then all you
Yeah.
have to do after is like basketball more than anything.
Do you think that that is a distinct factor in why this program has been successful? The fact that you don't have to really coach them as people, that you have all of these similar values that are being upheld and reflected down from the coaches, and that the focus is just continuously on basketball and nothing else. Do you feel that and that way of recruiting and that style of implementing a culture like that, do you think that that's one of the key reasons why this team has been successful?
I think so too, yeah. Because I think that's what they're trying to like. They have like their blueprint in some way of what they want to do. So I think what they're recruiting for sure is like something that is going to fit into that. So then the team is really like share something in common. And I think that's for sure something they're trying to do. And like even to connect as like teammates and stuff, it's way easier when you're like you feel like, oh, like we're not pretty much the same, but we're pretty similar.
All right, so to round this out, since we're quickly coming upon the end of our little session here, I want to hear from you. What would be your message to someone that was in your position 3 years ago, 4 years ago, rather, of are interested in continuing to play basketball, still trying to figure out if they want to balance it with academics in France, and now that basketball in the United States is becoming more of an option and more popular for young players in France, what would be your message for someone that may be in your same shoes but 4 years
Yeah.
ago?
I think coming here is a great opportunity in a way that if you stay in France, usually is to go pro right away. And the thing is that they don't try to develop you, they're just taking you as a player and using what you can do. They're not really trying to like develop you as a player when coming here. That was like one of my main thing, obviously, was like school and stuff. But I feel like in the way Coach A presented stuff to me, it's like I really get to develop as like a basketball player. Because I felt like if I stayed in France, I could have played pro somewhere, but I think I would have reached like the not the ceiling of what I can do, but like I would have been limited in some way. And I think coming here is a great opportunity for people to like extend what they can do, and like it really gets you ready for like the pro world, and it's also giving you a different perspective of basketball. I think overall it's really a great opportunity in terms of culture, learning about like new culture, learning a new language, be like fluent, get to do like the studies you want, even though if like I know I'm doing engineering, but some of my teammates are just doing like they're doing like something not as like heavy in some way. Like the scope of what you can do is in terms of school here is so like wide that you're always gonna find something you want to do, even though you don't really know yet. And I think to go with school, like one thing that I think is really good about the US is like if you don't know what you want to do as your freshman year, it's still okay because like you have like 3 semesters to find out what you want to do already. When in France, it's like, oh, if you sign up for this thing, then it's going to be this thing. And if you want to switch at some point, you need to start over again. So I think even if you're confused school-wise, I think like coming to the US is a great opportunity. You get to play like some different types of basketball based on the team you play. You get to like discover like a new country, like new habits of people, the way they work. So honestly, I think coming here was the best decision I could have taken, even though my mom really forced me, so like the decision was more hers. But like I think that was like a great chance for me to come here and like just grow as a player, grow as a person, get to do what I want in terms of school. So yeah, I cannot regret coming here, that's for sure.
Well, that was a hell of a pitch. Anaelle, thank you so much. That was the perfect way to round out this project. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit with me and talk about this. I have loved every single minute of speaking with you and just speaking with all of your teammates to learn about this incredible program. And just thank you so much for all that you've done for the URI community and representing this school, because you do it with pride. And everyone that goes to these games is also proud of being able to watch you all as a team. So thank you so much. Well, thank you everyone else for tuning in and listening to another episode of Marks from Marks. If you want to stay tuned for some more updates, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MarksForMarksPod, and I will get all of these uploaded very soon. I'm a little behind on uploading some of these shows, so there are going to be 5 new shows coming on, so everyone will be able to tune in and give them a listen and learn a lot more about all of these wonderful ladies and their great stories. So until then, see you all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.